Hi, Summoners. It's September 22nd, 2016, and welcome to episode 5 of Summoner's Sift, a League of Legends podcast. With me today, I have a wonderful human. His name is Projector.
Hey guys, glad to be here.
And we've been busy sifting the rift to bring you the very best League of Legends talk. How you been, buddy?
I've been good. Okay. So I've been okay. I should change that. I've been okay because I feel like I'm on tilt right now in game.
You're totally on tilt, huh?
I'm on a 6-game losing streak right now on my main account. It's really frustrating.
That feels bad. I know that feel.
Yeah.
You know that I went on that epic losing streak for a while.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm trying to avoid, is like making it any worse, because I'm already at 0 LP in Gold 5 just from the terrible games I've been playing.
That's raw. There's just nothing you can do in the middle of that but just kind of ride it out and just feel bad. I have been on a number of those losing streaks, and it just sucks. And a lot of times it's like what happens is it starts off, it's probably not your fault. But I mean, and maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but like every little thing isn't your fault. Maybe the games are close. And then you feel okay for like the first 2 losses. It's like, we could have won those, and then like you just can't win them. And then they just
every little thing becomes really frustrating. Your mentality goes down the drain. Like, it's just terrible.
Yeah, it gets bad. And you start tilting more. You make more bad decisions. You start pushing harder. And it gets pretty crappy. Yeah, I've been sort of treading water. The Mordekaiser account is all like basically Silver 1 now. I think it's in the promos to Silver 1. And then I'm, middle of the road. I haven't been playing a ton on the main account, so, it's still exactly in gold where I left it. I think I've lost like 2 games with you, so that's not doing me any favors on the main account, but,
Yeah, you...
But it is, I think I've lost one. I think I lost the promos with you actually on the Mort account. So
that wouldn't surprise me at this point.
But what can you do? You can't win them all.
Nope.
I think those Rek'Sai nerfs, stealth nerfing you.
But I can't even win with Vi, and she got buffed. Like,
Yeah, but Rek'Sai you were winning on all the time.
Yeah, Rek'Sai, my win rate was actually pretty high. It's dropped 2% since I started this weird tilt fest. But so have you been playing anything else other than Mordekaiser and kind of the standard champions?
No, so pretty much just Mord, and my standard junglers. I've been playing a little Rengar. I've been playing a little Vi because she did get buffed, so she feels pretty good.
Yeah.
But mostly Mordekaiser, sticking with that. Playing him a lot more top lane, not a lot of jungle, just because of the comps that I've been in. But I like him top a lot. I have been sort of getting bumped into some ugly situations with him, where I just can't win. But I think most of those games were with you. I'm winning all the time without you in the game. So
that's fair. Our win rate's actually pretty low together, so that's totally fair. Well, the problem is we get this huge lead early. Like, it'll be 4-0 by like 5 minutes, and then
I just can't carry.
We just like
I'm too
do
noob
nothing
to carry, man. Like, I don't know. Well, so I mean, soon we're gonna have a new champion to play, and maybe he'll snap you out of that, right?
Like, yeah, I mean, maybe he'll make it worse.
Could be, yeah. So they announced Ivern. I guess his name's Ivern the Greenfather, Ivern Bramblefoot.
Yep.
He's the support jungler, right? Like, so, and not like support jungler like Nunu in that he can be a support, and he kind of is a jungler. No, he is straight up a support jungler.
I think a rioter commented on a Reddit post and described him as Thresh of the jungle.
And I apologize for the scratchiness of the voice. I've had some sinus issues lately, so that's not been a blast.
Ouch.
But so he is the support of the jungle, right? Like,
yeah.
And let's not go too deep into him till he's released, because we have no idea if he's going to be good or not. I think he is, but we'll see. I think this champion's going to be extremely hard to balance just due to the kit, right? What do you think?
Yep. I think so too. The fact that he can instantly smite camps is huge. That is ridiculous to me. And the fact that he has a CC that also is a dash for any champion on his team is also really busted. I think those two things are going to be really big problems to balance around and to play around. And it wouldn't surprise me to see them remove that unique part of Q later down the line.
Yeah, I think one of the things I would say, and I don't want to spend a ton of time on Ivern because he hasn't been released. We haven't played him, so. But I think what I would say is that the passive seems really interesting. I think it's going to be very difficult for it to balance because it's either stupid weak or stupid broken because it prevents him from scaling appropriately. As you do build damage later in the game, it's a lot easier to clear the camps, and he's not going to be able to do that, right? So what happens when he needs to take Dragon? What happens when he needs to take Baron? He doesn't do any damage to them, right?
Well, no, he does it to epic monsters. It's just the camps. It's just the camps.
Okay,
so
that he can't. But what I'm saying is the Grove, does it pop on Baron and Dragon?
No, it won't.
Yeah, so
they're normal.
So whereas you're gonna build full tank, right? Because he doesn't need damage to to kill stuff. So really, your team's gonna have to deal Baron, and you're just sort of there. It's kind of interesting. I think it's a weird mechanic.
He's just gonna tank it he's just gonna play the role of a
yeah, he's just gonna sit there and tank, and he's not gonna. And so the passive doesn't really scale. So his passive later in the game sort of becomes useless. The Q is very, very strong. I think that's the part of the kit that scares me the most. One thing that I don't like about this champion, other than the passive, and so 3 of his abilities feel like they're just reused abilities, right? So the Q is basically just Lee Sin Q. I guess it's the E is basically just the old Face of the Mountain mechanic, almost exactly. It's exactly the same thing, right? Because it slows and it pops and.
Yeah.
And then the R is, tons of other champions sort of have it's Tibbers, right?
It's like a modified Tibbers.
Yeah. So
it's Tibbers with Braum ult mixed in a little bit. Which it's just weird.
I think the most interesting part of the kit is clearly the bush mechanic. That's the part that I like. Being a Rengar player, I'm really excited about that. But I also think there's a lot of interesting stuff you can do. It also might be the most insanely broken thing I've ever seen because I don't know how pros are going to use that, but man, the ability to make people move in and out of vision, pros use bushes in a different way than solo queue players do for the most part. Yeah. And dropping people out of vision for a second is pretty insane. So that the AD carry can't attack them is real weird. So I'm interested to see what happens.
I will say I do like that they added the condition that for 3 seconds the area in and around the bush is revealed. That's if it was an instant hide, that would be the most broken thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it'd be so crazy. But the idea that you can pre-set up a Baron fight
exactly
with the bushes and stuff is going to be really weird. I don't know, man. And sieging is going to be strange too, because imagine putting bushes around a turret and then sieging up with a Trist, and the Trist is in the bush and you can't get to her and you can't see her and you can't. So now you have to engage instead of try to poke her down. That's weird, man. It's just strange.
Yeah, but I will say I really do appreciate Riot's attempt to really change up their champion design with this. Yeah. They're really doing something different, and this really does have the opportunity or the potential to really shake up the way that the game is played. Mm-hmm. When this champion is in the game, everything changes. So I appreciate that a little bit, not a whole ton as a jungler, because it means that I'm going to have to really, really adjust when I'm against him. But overall, I like that they're trying new things and really pushing the limits on this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think the invades are really weird, right? So that's the biggest thing that's going to be tough to adjust to is man, that invade is a completely different thing that we've never had to worry about, right? He kills the camp almost instantly, and man, that's not cool. I don't know what to do with that. So we'll see. He can invade on pathing, which is strange. I don't really know.
It's just unless they make it so that any smite can clear a groved camp instantly, it's just unfair. He automatically gets any camp, pretty much.
You can't
get the grove on it.
Yeah, you can't steal it from him, right? So you can't walk over to the camp and then take it from him. He just smites it and it's his.
Yeah, as soon as the grove is down, it's done. It's gone.
It's also, it's just a weird mechanic, and I have a feeling once the pros get a hold of it, they're gonna get real crazy with this guy. So we'll see. I agree with you. I think he's really interesting. And I like that they're trying new things, Yep. So, other games are trying a lot of really interesting things with their champions. League has always been sort of very passive and safe with their champion design. So he's another one very similar to Bard, where it was like, what are they doing? I remember when Bard was released, people thought he was just like the weirdest thing they ever made. And he's turned out to be okay, and he's been a fun addition to the game. So hopefully this guy's the same, right?
Go ahead.
He'll be a champion that we have to learn. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
And I want to say this before we move on, because I know it's not in our show notes for tonight, but
yeah.
I really wish the Star Guardian skins came out a patch earlier and were on, or 2 patches earlier and came on for Worlds, because they're amazing. That's all I want to say.
They are super cool skins. It's a real bummer that they're not, right? Like
they would make so much money if those skins were getting played at Worlds.
Yeah, I don't understand like why. I mean, it's so free. Like just flip them babies in there, put them in, and like cash them checks, Rito. Like what are you
exactly.
What are you thinking? I don't know. I mean, they are super neat. It's interesting the choice of champions, but I think those champion choices, if you look at them, are totally based on like who they think they can sell skins for.
Yeah.
And demographics of the people that play those champions, and okay. I think it's going to be interesting, but those skins are really hot. They're really cool looking. So
I agree.
All right, so let's move into a couple things. So we had one thing that we want to briefly touch on that I think is a neat thing that kind of got up by actual misreading of the patch notes, and I think a lot of people read it this way, is it appeared based on the patch notes that they were going to start giving timers for enemy summoner spells. Now, this actually didn't happen, but it feels like something that could happen, considering that they've added jungle timers for opposing camps, they've added jungle timers for dragon, and they've added jungle timers for baron. So like this leads to a very sensitive subject for me, which is the sort of push and pull that Riot has between making the game clear, which is clarity, trying to make it so that people know what's happening during the game. We've talked about this before, but, making sure that you understand what's happening in the game, like how, like that there isn't a bunch of hidden information, hidden stats on champs, stuff like that, versus complexity being removed from the game, which was actually what I got hammered on about Reddit when I mentioned this, was that I always felt like champions should be really easy to figure out what a champion does. But people took that as complexity would go away. And that's not what I mean at all. But so imagine in a world where they remove, so they add summoner cooldowns to like maybe the tab list. What do you think? Would that be good for the game or would that be bad?
That's hard. I'm in the middle of the road on this one. Like I think it's okay, but I'm not like fully on board with it.
Okay, because a lot of people, people like me, we liked that bookkeeping aspect of jungling. That's actually why I got into jungling, was like, hey, I get to time his camps, I get to figure out, like I used to play with a whole notepad next to me. I don't do that anymore because I don't need it. But I used to have a whole notepad, and I would say, okay, when is like his blue gonna spawn? When is his red gonna spawn? Somebody actually just in the chat just pointed out, and I want to go back and just correct this real quick. The grove time does shorten per level, so it shortens from 6 to 40 seconds. So at least on your camps and like the regular jungle camps, you're gonna get like a quicker clear. But it's still, I think, where it really matters, where I was sort of talking about, is like on dragon baron, it doesn't really affect them. So just to go back and clarify that, but I personally feel that like when they added jungle timers to the game, it sort of lessened the skill gap between good junglers and bad junglers, because I thought that people who didn't have mechanical skill, which is why a lot of us jungled in the past because you had no gold anyway. Now you get a bunch of gold, so it's very different. But back in the day, you didn't get any gold. You were basically another support. So you got maybe 3 items. You generally got your jungle item, you got your boots, and you probably got a locket. It was actually Bulwark at the time, or, Aegis. But those are the only items you got. And if you got another one, you were like, woo, oh, I got another item. Hey, it was pretty shocking to get more. Most of it was spent on, like wards, because again, back in the day you had to spend tons of wards. So you had to learn how to like sort of time their camps. You were sort of the bookkeeper. You kept track. Where is their jungler? Where is their mid? Where is their support? If people roamed, you were sort of in charge of that. And that was part of the game that I really liked. And the role has moved away from that quite a bit. Now that the jungle timers are in there, that skill gap is completely gone, everybody knows when dragon's going to spawn.
Well,
so.
Okay, so I'm going to counterpoint to you because here's the thing that kind of gets me a little bit, which is if you're a laner, you always know where the enemy's minion wave is. You know when it's coming in, and you have clarity for timer's sake because you can see it based on where your minions are. Mm-hmm. I would say that the jungle timers, at least for the buffs, adds a little bit of fairness to the jungle side of things where you can know where the enemy's camps are, because it doesn't necessarily tell you where the enemy is, though it could tell you where the enemy will be soon. It doesn't necessarily say that they couldn't already be in the area or somewhere else. Like, I can understand jungle timers to an extent within that regard. It's the summoner spell cooldown that I've heard people asking for that I have an issue with.
Yeah.
Like, that's...
I personally think like those little niche things, like those little, and I get why Riot is changing them. You know, I understand that the majority of their audience and the majority of people that play the game, you know, a good, huge majority, it's probably like somewhere in the realm of 95%, actually, if even that close, like never pays attention to those pieces of information. They don't time summoner spells. They say them because they see pros do it in LCS. Like they see like streamers like typing it in Challenger, you know, like, oh, you know, Flash R, you know, it's become like a meme. Like, you know, you get killed and you're like, you know, top lane R, you know, top lane Flash, top lane Ignite.
It's the way to like justify that you got killed.
Yeah, exactly. Like
yeah, they had Flash for me.
I mean, they both flashed and they both used R. Clearly that was totally worth it. You know. So, but I think that when they remove things like that, those little gaps, it actually impacts people like me who are complete like button morons. Like we're like, we don't know buttons, you know? So, you know, me playing Lee Sin is just an absolute just nightmare, but I could actually play Lee Sin prior to a lot of the jungle changes when the timers were. I was actually a reasonable Lee Sin player because I could time their buffs and I knew like where to be. And really the reason that I played Lee Sin is because I could build a sight stone and always get away. So like it wasn't because I was trying to like do some mechanical like rush type stuff and like flashy, you know, kick stuff. It was really just because I could invade their jungle, know when their camps were going to spawn, and just take their entire jungle, you know. Yeah. Now that I feel like has sort of went away to an extent. I know people still do it, but
yeah, but summoner cooldowns as well. I mean, that's the enemy's spells. I don't see their ult cooldown. I don't see their regular build. I shouldn't see their summoner cooldowns. I should have to play around that. And I think if you're unwilling to learn that part of the game and play around cooldowns that you have to keep track of, then that's a problem. Like that, you're going to be playing at a disadvantage. Yeah. Jungle timers, that's a little bit more because that's neutral. That's neutral objectives on the map. But summoner cooldowns, that's specific to each player, and I don't think it's fair like that people would request that or people would want that. I like that I can ping and just click their summoner icon and like have the timestamp in my chat, but I don't want to be able to see their cooldown.
I 100% agree with the change as it is, right? I just think it was an interesting discussion that got brought up as a result of the way the patch notes were worded, and I think probably a discussion that a lot of people had when it originally happened. So you know, I just thought it was an interesting point to bring up. So
agreed.
All right. So real quick, we're going to go into, this is a huge issue. We could probably do an entire show about it. Okay. Right. Like the whole world has an opinion, but we're going to go into it just really fast, just because I think it was like the big league news of the week. Right. I think the big story that kind of got passed around, other than Ivern being like sort of spoiled and talked about, the profit sharing with the teams. Right. I think that this has been an issue that's been building for a while. Right. A lot of people have been talking about it. A lot of people have had a lot of strong feelings. A lot of very people who have a lot more league clout than me or you ever will. Right. Have had a lot of interesting thoughts on this one. But so Riot finally responded. Right. And has finally come out, which I think Riot basically had to do. I think they were sort of forced to respond and came out with, you know, trying to address a lot of the concerns. And they put out this big letter. And, you know, I haven't read the actual letter, but I have sort of a quick little rundown that riftherald.com did. A very nice piece. You should absolutely go there for League of Legends news if you don't already. It's riftherald.com. They did a nice, and it sort of outlines, and I'm just going to run through these points real quick. And, you know, I don't need to go on all of them, but most of them, they basically go down to, they have plans to share the league esports revenue streams with people. They want to have partners who have permanent stakes in the game. So I would assume what they're talking about is bigger partners, bigger, larger sponsors, maybe companies like Roccat, some of these companies that have had teams for a long period of time, maybe owners like TSM who have been part of the building of the situation. I don't know exactly how that's going to work. Plans to restructure and expand their approach to media distribution and ad sponsorship sales. That's sort of marketing speak. I work in marketing, so I know. More team branded in-game purchasable content, which I think with revenue shared with those teams, which I think this is an interesting point because I think a lot of people thought this was already happening, right?
Yeah.
I think this was just a given, right? And so what that means is that, and they proceed to give a bunch of numbers, 25% basically is the base number. Hey, we're going to give 25% of the revenue from championship skins added to the world's prize pool, which I think is a great idea. Cool. Yep. Let's just rip off Dota completely. Let's just run it. All right. So 25% of revenue received from challenger skins will be added to
I want to stop you there because the championship skin, they said that if this change had gone in last year, it would have doubled last year's prize pool.
Yeah, I mean it's huge. Like this is a huge
That's
thing.
gigantic.
Yeah, so this is absolutely Riot is trying to do the right thing here, I think. And people will argue that we're going to argue that point here in a minute, but I think we're sort of both on the same side. I really feel like Riot's trying to do the right thing, Maybe whether or not this is enough, that's a different question, but I think that it is at least a step in the right direction, and a lot of people will say that it's sort of a half measure to try to stave off and hold as much of the money as they can for a while. But I don't really feel that way. I've never felt that way from Riot. I always feel like they're trying to do the right thing. Yeah. Again, they're going to give 25% of the revenue to the MSI prize pool from the challenger skins. 25% of the revenue received from skin scales from the winning team of Worlds will be shared with the players' team and league. Riot will also share revenue from past World skin. That's a big one because they're going to go back, which could mean SKT is going to get a big ass check. All right.
Yep. Like this basically means we're buffing SKT as an organization.
I mean, that is a big old fat check that SKT is going to get, right? Like, Isn't that what we're going to see? Like, it's going to be pretty wild. So
suddenly Samsung White reforms and comes back.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's really interesting. And then they make another point here where in 2017, each league will set aside a guaranteed minimum to each of its teams as it determines appropriate based on regional needs. For example, the EU LCS will have a minimum revenue amount of £100,000 per team for the full season, of which 50% will go to players as supplemental income on top of their existing salaries. Great. More money to players, I think, is a great thing. They're trying to take care of the organizations here. If teams are going to, now there's even a bigger incentive for teams to succeed. It's not just stay in the league, right? Mm-hmm. So now when you win Worlds, it's huge. Because now you're going to get revenue from those skins forever.
Yep.
Forever. You have a huge revenue
as long as they're in the game.
I mean, can you imagine getting 25% of all the SKT skins ever sold?
That's huge.
I can't even think of the dollar amount.
Here's my thing. I'm more encouraged as a player to buy some of these skins because I know I'm directly benefiting players that I love to watch and follow. If TSM wins Worlds, you best believe I'm buying those skins, not just because they're TSM skins, but because now I know they're getting some of that money. This is my way to contribute to an organization that I love.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I think this is a really... I know a lot of people are going to say, no, this isn't enough, share some of that fat cash. But you know what? To be honest, if Riot hadn't have done it, right? If Riot hadn't have done it at all, people would have still watched Worlds. People would still play League of Legends. All of these teams would still try. I think that I know that a lot of people have threatened to leave and all of this stuff. There may have been a little of that, but I think Riot would have been all right if they wouldn't have done anything. I think they would have been okay. So,
well, and I love that they're also looking out for the little guy with that last one, that each team gets a minimum amount for based on regional needs. I think that's great because that says that we're not only carrying out the big 3 teams in each region, but that every team is getting something. So it's incentive for everyone to be a part. Yeah.
So I mean, how do you feel about this change? You feel pretty good about it?
I love it. I wish I could see how much of this was in the proposal that Reggie and other organizations sent to Riot. Mm-hmm. I want to see, because I think this would actually be great for investors to be able to see or at least for Riot to say, hey, working alongside the owners, we created this, because that gives investors an incentive to say, oh, we can actually have an impact on this game and the sport in our own organizations in a really productive and constructive way, without that kind of at least confirmation to say that we worked with them or not. But I agree with this change 100%. I love it. I love the direction. I think this is the best thing they've done all year, to be 100% honest.
Yeah, I'm very happy with this change. I know that, again, I keep saying this, but I know that a lot of people aren't going to be happy with it. But I feel like Riot taking any step in this direction is a big move. And I think that this is more than they had to do, in my opinion. A lot of people will argue that, but I think it's good. I think
this is more than I thought they would do. This is like twice as much as I thought they would do.
Yep. So good job, Burrito. Bravo. Good job,
awesome.
Gentlemen. So, all right. So patch 6.19. I just want to go through it real quick. There's not a ton to talk about here. So Singed was broken for like half a minute, where he could like solo Baron in like 10 seconds by himself. Whoops, we goofed that. All right. So Kog'Maw, they've changed Kog'Maw back to being old Kog'Maw,
which is great.
Yeah, I think that was probably about time, right? Anivia nerfs, Aurelion Sol nerfs, right? Cassiopeia nerfs, Corki buffs because it's world time.
Yep.
Mundo buffs. The first Kled balance change. I think this is notable, right? So this is the first time they've actually balanced Kled. They've done anything really to him. And what do you think about Kled? Like, you think people are going to play him? Like,
I think they're going to be less encouraged to play him because he takes a very specific play style. But I love these changes, especially the ult range change. I think that's a great change.
Yeah, I think it's right. And then, I mean, the weird passive was sort of strange, where he did less damage. Like, it's weird. Soraka, the nerfs, well deserved, right? Like, I was so tired of playing at Soraka and banning Soraka. I mean, this is a crazy nerf to Soraka.
Yeah, that's huge. That is huge. That's double. All
literally a double at rank 1. So, I mean, it's pretty big. Maybe the build path changes a little bit. Twitch nerfs probably needed, especially on the pro scene. Udyr deals more damage. This is kind of a buff to Udyr, I think, because generally Phoenix Udyr is trying to do that one pop. That first pop is what he's really about. I think good, right? Like, I think, fine changes.
Not going to see him broken again.
Yeah, so not going to see him broken or anything. And then a bunch of skin stuff, chromas, and that's all great. I think that's cool, but nothing.
Summoner spells have a 15-second cooldown on load-in. That's wonderful.
That's great. That's just a quality of life. Like, if you, press F to pay respects. Now, if you do that, like, you just paid respect. You didn't blow your lane. So that's pretty good. And I think that's pretty much the news. Any other stuff that you want to bring up? Anything you've got going on? I feel like that's pretty much the week in League of Legends.
That's really, I think that's the biggest thing. I think we've touched on all the biggest things. So I got nothing.
All right. So with that, we have a bunch of listener questions. Thank you to everyone that sent in listener questions. Again, I don't know if the $10 in RP helps, but I really feel like you deserve it. So please send in your questions. If you want to know where to send those questions, just send them to summonersift@gmail.com. Really easy. That'll be in the show notes. You can find that. Send in a listener questions. We'll take a look at it. We'll read it. If it doesn't suck, we'll read it on air and try to give you the best answer that we can. If we pick your question as the best question of the week, we will ship you $10 in RP. If you're international, please submit a question. We'll figure out a way to get you that RP. Don't you?
And I fully expect to be submitting questions and under a pseudonym and getting Benson to pick me. So he just doesn't know it yet.
And then I will absolutely find a new co-host. All right. So first listener question. This is actually, this one comes from Rescued, a person that we've played a number of support games with. She says, "Hey guys, it's Rescued. This seems to be happening to me a lot more recently, and I have no idea what to do. How do you deal with the enemy team out-rotating you?" Good question. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I've had next question. No. So I've had quite a few games the past couple weeks where the enemy pressures multiple lanes at once, and my team and I do not know how to handle it, which usually leads to the enemy just pushing further into our base until they win. occasionally we end up winning because the enemy is out of place, or they just generally throw the game so we get an advantage. How can my team turn this situation around besides hoping the enemy team throws? So, Projector, I think you're very familiar with this situation.
Yep.
Why don't you take a run at this one?
So I've got a couple things. For a team that's out rotating you and you're kind of stuck trying to play catch up, I think one of the things you can do is think about what their next obvious objective would be in the lead, and then try and meet them there. So, if they're going to go, that's you want to predict where they're going to be next, and you want to be there too. So you don't want them to out-rotate you. And that may mean you have to give up an objective in between. You can't contest every single objective because they will constantly outrun you. Maybe you have to give up one turret to meet them at the next and fight them under it. Something like that. I think it's a game of like, what am I willing to sacrifice to catch back up to this? And sometimes that's a risk. And as far as you end up winning because the enemy is out of place, or they just generally throw the game. We're playing in like high silver, low silver games, gold games. Everyone throws.
Yeah.
Everyone throws. It will happen, and they may throw at 30 minutes. They may throw at 40 minutes. They may throw at 35 minutes. It is on you to identify those moments and take advantage of them. And that's with pings. That's with whatever you can do to say, hey, if they turret dive us, that's fine. Like, Benson, you and I were playing the other night, and there was you and Darius were going at it constantly. And you were literally, I'd be near the lane. You'd be like, Darius is going to fight me. And we killed him like twice in a row because I
just knew he would fight me. Yeah, he was super fed too. Like, I was like, but this guy has one line, and it's attack you. Like, all he would do was fight me, no matter what. 100%. No matter how obvious the 2v1 was. Literally, I would just run past minion waves into him, and I'd be like, he'll fight me again. Like, he'll stand here and fight me. And
it was the funniest thing.
And we just killed him over and over, and that's how we got back in the game. So yeah, I mean, I would agree. I think that the biggest thing here, so this is a really complex question, and to be honest, it's really hard to answer because it's very situational. It's like, what are the team comps look like? How are you supposed to, do you want to try to force fights? But I think the point that I would make is, one, in those situations where you feel like you're being out-rotated, don't just surrender, okay? Mm-hmm. Because that's what happens in a lot of solo queue games, is people just go, we got out-rotated, the game is over. Oh my God, they took an extra dragon, screw it, I'm done. And they just go home and they're over, and somehow you turn into an elderly Jewish grandmother. It's exactly what happens. I don't know where that came from, but so that's what happens. Like, people will surrender for no reason, just because they're frustrated at getting run around the map. Don't surrender, because like you just said, silver, especially, and most, I know that everyone that listens to our podcast is Challenger. I know. But most of you are MMR below your gold, your silver, your bronze. And they're just, it is Game of Thrones, boys. Like, it is not, really is. It is not League of, you are not playing the LCS. It is not, just wait for them to do something dumb and kill them. Yep. And then the game will end. Because that's how every game of League of Legends ends.
It's almost like the first 30, 35, 40 minutes of the game doesn't matter. It's whoever makes the last mistake loses.
Exactly. It's like, well, you made the last mistake, and your death timers are 45 seconds, and now we push to take your Nexus.
Yep. And that's the other thing. If you're behind, just wait till everyone is. Eventually, they won't be ahead, because if everyone's level 18 and has 6 items, then everyone's even. Eventually, everyone caps out.
So first point, don't surrender, you wuss. Now, if like obviously like 30 plus kills, whatever, like if you know the game is just over and they're like throttle holding you and you want to surrender, you know what? I'm not going to hate on you. It is what, especially if your team is like, 3 straight surrenders and you're like, you know what? Don't fight with them. If they're super toxic, like don't, you can move on with your day.
Gone, it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone. But like, in those situations, don't like overthink the surrender, right? Like, don't be like, well, I don't really know what our win condition is, or I don't really know, how we manage to rotate. Like, that doesn't matter. It's gold. Like, they're going to dive you under turret and die, and that's how you win, okay? Yep. Somebody's going to do some dumb stuff, and that's when you win. And it's either going to be on your side or it's going to be on their side. So just play it out.
And I think I want to add just 2 more points to this, and that's this. One, you don't win every game. Sometimes you get out-rotated, every lane loses, and that's game. Like, sometimes it just happens. Sometimes there is no way to win that because the other team just outplayed you better and played better across the game. And sometimes you just don't win. You don't win every game. The other thing I would say is it's on you. If every lane is being pressured, including yours, what did you do at the beginning to lose the pressure in your lane? If you can look at your gameplay before the game went out of control and try to identify how you can play your lane better to carry the lane, to do better, even if you're support, there are ways that you could have set up kills. Are there kill opportunities that you missed that could have snowballed your ADC? Are there different things that you could have done, and try to identify those things so that you can make sure that you're the lane with the pressure every game?
Yeah, I think that, just figure out how you got in that situation where you're getting out rotated.
Yep.
Like, what did they do? And then just like League of Legends at its very core is very similar to all competitive games that I've ever played, in that until you are good enough to make the strategy, copy the strategy. Okay. Like, what did that guy do to me? What did that, and or maybe in this case, what did that girl do to me that just like wrecked me 100%? And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do exactly that to the next people that I play, and copy that and smash people until it stops working, and then just steal mercilessly. Look, you don't get LP for coming up with some brand new strat. Like, they don't give you extra wins. Like, oh, you played AD Malphite and won this game. You know what? Here's 5 extra LP just because you're cool. No, it doesn't work like that. Like you get the same amount of LP for stealing that dude's Malphite strat from 4 games ago. You know what? Get that Swid LP. He showed you how to give it. He gave you the game plan. Like, that's what I would say, is like, just do whatever they did. Just watch what they did, learn from it, go from there.
Agreed.
All right, so on to the next question. Go ahead and read this one.
So this is from Georgie is his name, I think. And he says, hey, love the podcast. Question. And when, in your opinion, is the best time to climb? Some say it's at the start of the season. Some say that the start of the season is hard because the tryhards and Smurfs are out trying to escape the low elo. Some say mid-season is hard because the season is always in a turmoil as the meta changes and nerfs come in. And some say at the end of the season is horrible because all the slackers and trollerinos are trying to bum rush the rank ladders to climb. What are your thoughts?
All right. So I'm gonna touch on this one because actually I had this exact same situation last season. Okay.
Yep.
Because I was in promos for silver for this season is the first season that I've hit gold, and I've hit it many times. Okay. Like this season I've hit it a whole bunch of times. Okay. Like I have tried over and
you hit gold like 5 times.
I've been gold a bunch of times because I fell out a bunch of times. Okay. So I am clearly exactly in the MMR where I belong. All right. So I think that what I would say is that at the end of the season, so last season, at the end of the season, it's going to feel like all the trolls come out. It feels like all the slackers come out. And to be honest, that's actually not true. What happens is everyone that's just like you, that really has a goal, right? So they have a goal for the season and they're like, you know what my goal is? It's to hit gold. And maybe they're like silver 1 or silver 2 and they've been sort of like limping along trying to get to that goal. They all come out at the end of the season because like, I don't have any time. I got to play now, And what they do is they pressure themselves. The worst time to play ranked is when you have to win. Every poker, this came from poker. Like the worst time to play poker is when you have to win, okay? Because you play completely differently. When the money starts to matter, you play different. League is exactly the same way. If the wins matter, you win less, all right? That's how it works. We aren't professional League of Legends players, okay? League of Legends, like big name League of Legends players, they like rise to the occasion, right? Like it's like, oh, this is the time he has to hit that smite, like, or else the game is over and they don't go to Worlds. Like, that's why they're like professional League of Legends players, because they get better, right? And eventually you can be that, right? Like totally move up the way. But I think the big thing is that at the end of the season, everybody is under that same stress that you are, okay? They're under the same exact stress. And like, that's what makes those games at the end of the season so toxic. So be ready when you go in, be done with your goal already. It's fine to play ranked at the end of the season. It's the same, right? Just be ready for a bunch of dudes that are pressing real hard to play ranked, right? Yeah. And like they're trying for that goal. I personally don't really enjoy that environment. That's why I don't play a ton of ranked at the end of the season. I try to hit my goal like pretty early in the season. But, I don't feel like it's markedly different. What changes is you. You're the one that changes because those players are on both sides. It's just now you're one of them.
Yep. So I'm going to agree with you and say that the end of the season is really bad to play in. And I'm also going to add that I think the beginning of the season, like the first 2 weeks to a month, I think are terrible to play in because everyone does their placements and gets dropped typically, a full division lower or full tier lower. I was silver 3 and dropped down to bronze 3 from season to season. So for the first few weeks, for the first month or so, you've got everyone that's trying to get out of the places they were. So bronze 3 is now the place where all the silver players were. Silver 3 is now all the place where all the mid-gold players were. And so you kind of want to wait for everything to even out and everyone to climb out of those elos for them to even out, and then you can start playing. That's how I did it. So I waited about a month or so to really start playing ranked. I played in normals to get used to all the preseason changes and just kind of decide what I wanted to do, and then I jumped into ranked after that. Eventually,
I think I agree with you. I think what's important, me personally, I like that scrum at the very beginning of the season. I like seeing like people playing like crazy nonsense and like, because there's always a bunch of item changes in the preseason and like a bunch of weirdness. So I like that like sort of insanity that is that like early ranked season where it's just like pure insanity where like everybody's playing. But I think it's important that like what is your goal, right? And that's we've said that before, is like have a goal for when you start a season. Be like, you know what I want to try to do this season? I want to try to hit gold or silver or whatever, or I want to learn how to mid, or I want to, because then it doesn't matter when you start or when you play. You know what I'm saying? And then if your goal is straight up just win LP, like probably wait roughly, I think like you said, about a month before you get into ranked. And I wouldn't, if you haven't hit it by the end of the season, hey, you know what? Like you're not there. And if you don't play, you're not going to get it anyway.
That's fair.
But plan on trying to push hard before the end. Don't like plan your big push at the end of the month.
I know I'm kind of the exception to the rule and how fast I climbed, but I'm also slower than a lot of other people have. My goal at the beginning of the season when I placed bronze 3 was to hit gold 5. And I should note that when I was silver 3 last season, that was just after placements. I just got into ranked. I'd never played the game really. I just hit 30. Like I was brand new to the game. And I hit silver 3 after placements, placed bronze 3 after placements this season, and I went from from bronze 3 to gold 5 in 2.5 months because I waited a little bit and then got in, knew what my goal was, and played to that. I dodged appropriately. I played the best champions I could and did what I can because that was my mindset to accomplish my goal. If you know what your goal is, dedicate yourself to it and continue to learn in those games whatever you need to learn to get better.
Yep. That's what I think is important. I think as long as you have a goal in mind, just figure out, like, plan it out. What's the best time for you to climb? Like, when do you win? I win a lot early in the season, like, to be honest. I win a ton, and then I kind of, like, have, like, this weird plateau, and then I actually get worse toward the end of the season because I kind of get bored and I start playing a bunch of champs. Because early in the season, I'm, like, going crazy, and, like, I like the scrum. And then, like, in the middle of the season is when I really hit my stride and I really get going and I get that grind on, and then, like, all of a sudden, like, I hit my goal normally and I'm like, oh, I'm gold. Screw it. It's time to play, AP Olaf and I'm in, like, let's go. And then, like, I just like a stone and then fall around. And that's why I, like, spun out of control and went all over the place. So I think that's a great question because I think people ask that a lot. So.
Yep.
All right, so going into the next question, do you want to read this one too?
That's fine.
The last one. Go ahead.
All right, so this one's from Evan. It says, "Hey guys, I always hear people say how they hate playing against X champion and that any nerf to them is a great nerf." And I guess he heard me say at some point this quote that I hate playing against Gnar and that any nerf to him is good because it means I'll see less of him. And that's true. I hate playing against Gnar. So he's actually wondering now the opposite. I was wondering if you guys have any champions you enjoy playing against and why. Thank you and keep up the excellent cast.
All right, so I'm actually interested. You know what? I'm gonna defer. I want your answer on this because he actually mentions you in the question. So I'm interested to hear what you have to say. I'm gonna let you read the question and I'm gonna let you answer. I'm throwing the podcast rules to the wind. Like, let's hear your answer to this question.
I like a lot. I don't mind playing against a lot of the standard champions because I like the challenge to play the game in its typical form. I'm the kind of guy that doesn't like cheese strategies. I'm the kind of guy that doesn't love early invades against me, that kind of thing. So for me,
you like the standard game. You want the lanes the way they're supposed to be. You want the right. So, that's why you don't play at the beginning of the season.
Yep. Whenever
you don't play during like double relic shield insanity top lane, right? Like that's
no. That's I avoid that.
Who needs a jungler? Get out of here.
So like I hate playing as Shaco, who comes in and steals everything. You know.
Yeah.
Champions I do kind of enjoy playing against as long as they're not like super far ahead of me, because any champ super far ahead is just terrible to play against. I actually enjoy playing against Leona. I think she provides an interesting game to play around. I like playing against Sejuani as well. I think that she can be a lot of fun to play around because of just the way that her kit works. Mm-hmm. Those are two that I don't mind playing against a whole lot. I think they can be really fun to play against. Outside of that, I can't think of anything really specifically. Because I kind of hate playing against everyone. I just want to win.
So it's funny, you actually touch. I'm going to take the like winning part out of it because I think that's obvious. Like anybody that I just stomp on all the time, I love playing against them. I want to play against them every game. Like, you know, bring your AP poppies. I'm ready. Let's go. Exactly. Like, I'm ready. Like, let's fight that every game. But so personally, like, you actually like a lot of the same champions, and I think I have like a reason why I like them. So champions like Sejuani, Orianna, Amumu, those big team fight, skill shot oriented champions, like where they have this big impact that can be dodged, right? So like Orianna especially. Orianna is actually, in my opinion, one of the best designed champions in the game. And I love Orianna. Even though like she does sort of break my clarity rule a little bit, although she is kind of, I would argue that it's like, hey, pay attention to what the ball does. You know, but so I mean, I would think, right? But I've never lost to an Orianna and felt like that champion's super cheesy. He won just because of the champion. Because Orianna has to beat you. She has to do things to beat you. I mean, yeah, I've been Ignite cheesed by Orianna like level 2, you know, with the auto attack passive back in the day. But like, for the most part, in order for Orianna to play well, like in a team fight, in a skirmish, she has to do stuff. Like she has to push buttons. She has to like think about how she's going to use her abilities. I really like Orianna. And Sedge is another one where it's like, if you lose to Sedge, although like Sedge can get to the point where she's not fun to play against, like especially when she's ahead, where it's just like a nightmare and you can't get away from her and she's impossible to kill and she does tons of damage. So Sedge, I don't know. Amumu though, it's very clear what he's trying to do, you know, and it's good because your team knows what he's trying to do, right? So when he lands that big ult, right, you don't get to say like, oh, that champion's cheesy. No, it's like, dude, just don't get ulted. Don't group up, and it's fine.
Don't get hit by bandage toss, which is slow and really obvious to see.
Yeah, I like champions that encourage the team fight. That's what I like. I don't like champions that discourage the team fight. I don't like champions like Janna and like Kench, where they disengage. They make good plays not happen. You know, where it's like, oh yeah, we're trying to out-rotate you and you're trying to engage, but you know what, Janna's just going to push R and like you can't really do anything.
Yep. Like I hate Echo, who you have to kill 3 times.
Yeah.
If he gets a GA, like.
Yeah. Well, again, Echo has that sort of non-interactive, like disengage sort of quality. I don't like big disengaged champions.
Yeah.
I do like engaged champions. I like playing against them because I know what's going to happen. We're going to fight, and like, if you can avoid the fight, sometimes that's what you want to do. It's a more fun game for me. Like I always feel like I didn't lose because like, oh, their Tryndamere just split push forever and we didn't know how to respond to it. And like nobody feels good when they lose to a Tryndamere, right? Nobody feels good. That was like, oh, that was a fun game. Like that was cool. Like, yeah, it was great where he didn't group and we tried to split push and then we took an inhibitor, but he took a Nexus turret and like, oh, that was fun. You know, nobody feels good about it. It's like, oh, we didn't know whether to back or not because Tryndamere was pushing and like, yeah, his whole team sucked, but it didn't matter because, I mean, like, who has fun in that game other than the Tryndamere, right? Like, he's the only one having fun. And, like, to me, like, the champions that encourage a team fight, they encourage everybody to play, everybody's getting to do something. It's like, oh, well, at least if you're getting a Mumu ulted, you're involved in the team fight. Like, I'm involved in the action, So, like, those are the types of champions I like playing personally.
I will say, because you said Orianna, like, I think I 100% agree that Orianna's fun. Like, I don't think there's ever been an Orianna game where if she lands a solid ult, regardless of which team she's on, I'm not like, dang, that was so good. Like, it doesn't even matter. I'm just like, I can appreciate a good Ori ult even if it costs me the entire game.
I would watch a, 20-hour YouTube clip of, super cut of every Orianna ult, spread through the ages. If that exists, please send it in, summonersift@gmail.com. I would love to watch it. I'll actually make it my background for the next cast.
We'll do a movie night where we stream it and we just watch
just play it all day. They just, because the way Orianna, and this is the last point that I'll make about Orianna is something about that champion and the way everybody kind of moves in a weird circle, the opposite direction of each other. It's just so satisfying. Then when big Orianna ult goes off and everybody moves toward the ball but they jump over each other in that weird way, and it has the noise. It's just super satisfying. It just feels good, man. There can't be a better feeling in League of Legends than landing a super clutch Orianna ult. It's way up there, right?
Yep, and one of our viewers knows that well because he did a Baron steal with an Oriole, and it was amazing. And it was amazing. Saved us the game.
Yep, all of the balls, as our chat, as our very mature chat would say. So
yes.
All right, so moving on to the next question of the night, and this is actually the last question. This question actually comes from our previous winner. Keep sending in great questions, and this is another great question. This is from Doom. He sent this one, and he is the winner from last week. He won $10 in RP. He'll probably spend it on a stupid skin for Nautilus because that's all he plays. But
or Wukong.
Or Wukong.
I'm Doom. I play Wukong.
I'm Doom. I play Wukong. A former host of a Trinity Force podcast. You should absolutely check that out.
That we love. We have a lot of respect.
We love a lot of respect for those guys. We have tons of respect for Doom.
Yeah, tons
of respect. All right.
Just tons.
So I would go to. All right, so he says, hey guys, thanks for answering the question last week and for the RP. Yeah, I think that's mostly. Also, great show. You have a new sub.
Thanks.
Good little bit there. We're going to talk about how to sub later, but here's another for the next episode. When it comes to late game objective control, where would you rank the usability of Elder Dragon versus Baron? When would you say to take one over the other, or do you always do one because one is clearly better? Does it change if you're ahead or behind?
This is fun. I like this question.
All right. So what's your thought? I have a very clear opinion on this, but I'm interested to hear yours.
Okay. So I think Baron is better in 90% of circumstances. If you're behind though, and you need to deny something, if they have all of the dragons and an Elder Dragon would basically mean the end of the game, I would deny it from them. And it kind of depends late game on your win condition. If you guys have been team fighting all game long and you just need one good team fight to win, Elder's the way to go. And but if you're having trouble pushing, if you are just stalled out and you're having trouble sieging, then that's when I would say prioritize Baron. I think it's important to kind of leave a blue trinket kind of around the opposite objective, so to challenge it, or you can keep vision where you need to play, where you need to be watching. But in general, I think Baron is overall a better objective to take, because I think it helps you get to your objective more directly, which is their nexus. However, I do think that Elder is a great snowball one. I think Elder is a great team fighting one, which is the whole point of it, really. Mm-hmm. And if you've been getting a whole bunch of dragons, get it and just kill them and then take the game, right? But if you've had a game where you're not fighting a lot and it's just pushing and sieging after sieging, take Baron and let those minions do work. That's my opinion.
So my opinion is actually the same. I actually think that Baron is more important than Elder, but I would say that I actually think for different reasons. So here's the thing. If the game has gotten to the point, if you're shooting for an end game objective to end the game, what you want is Baron. Okay. So if the game is close and we just want a marginable fight, right? We want to, it was a 5v5 and we killed 2 of them and 3 of them got away. Take Baron. Okay. Because, and this is the big point that I will make, Elder is much more difficult to take. Much more. I think. I mean, I think a lot of people will agree with me, but Elder has more. It's just more difficult to take. It takes longer. It's safer to take Baron because it's impossible to not get anything out of Baron. Okay, especially in solo queue. So I'm gonna say it right now. Okay, I'm gonna say it, and a lot of people are gonna like just shit talk me to no end. I apologize, but this is the way it is. If you are plat or below, you should just always take Baron in solo queue. Always. Just take Baron, win the game, okay? Don't bother with Elder. You don't need it. Just take Baron and win the game. If you can take both, sure, take it. If it's one of those games where, like, they're stomped and you're just crushing them and, like, you're just destroying them, like, sure, whatever. Take all you want. If you can get Elder for free, just take it, right? But if you have a choice, like, if you have to make a clear choice, just take Baron every time, okay? Because Baron is like better in 9 out of 10 situations. And the situations where Elder is better, you probably don't know what those situations are. Because I don't know what they are, right? I can't tell you, here's the comp that you should get Elder Dragon instead of Baron. You know what? I don't know because I'm gold. I don't know. Yeah. You know what I know is good? Baron. Baron's real good. So just go get it and win the game. Because like it's super rare that you take Baron and you don't get a ton off of it. Yeah. You get a ton. Elder, like there's a ton, like the time limit feels shorter. I mean, it just like you have to engage, you have to press. And I don't want to be forced to do anything in solo queue because most of the time, you know what's going to happen? We're going to take Elder. And you know what my team's going to do? They're going to go back. And I'm like, what are you doing? Don't go back. Like, that's the worst thing that you can do. I mean, that's what they do after Baron, too, right? Like, you'll take Baron.
Yeah, but Baron is forgiving because you get empowered recall.
Exactly, right? So, like, just on that alone, you're going to take the objective, and what's your team going to do? They're going to hit B. So, you know what? At least you got the empowered recall off. At least you got that, you got that much out of it. And like Elder takes longer. You can throw harder at it. Like I can't tell you how many times I've seen teams throw because they try to take Elder too early in the game when they can't kill it quickly. And like they've just killed us and the depth timers are only like 25, 30 seconds. And like they're trying to take this thing. There's only like 2 or 3 of them left. And then we just walk up and kill them and end the game.
There are only 2 scenarios really that I've seen Elder get taken in my games across the map. One is Baron's not on the map, you've just finished a siege, and you're resetting, and you want to deny the enemy the chance to come back, like into sneak an objective. So you're just like, that's the only thing left to take.
We're just going to take this because it's on the map, right?
The only other way that I see it done is if I'm contesting because the other team wants to take it. Like, I never am the one that's calling for Elder because of the fact that your recall timer is the same, so 8 seconds of your... 8 seconds of your buff is already wasted by the fact that your team is backing. 99% of the time, you're not actually going to be able to use Elder to get a fight unless it's like right there in front of you. If you're contesting and Elder will mean the difference between you winning that fight that's already happening, cool, because you're contesting it. But in general, like Baron, even with just 4 seconds, you're still speeding up your minions to get to where you need to get quicker.
Yeah, and Baron is everything I want to end the game. Like it does everything I want. Like because like anybody who's ever played with me, you know what I say when like people are like, what do I do? What do I do? Like we win a fight and they're like, what do I do? I say one word, and it's push. Just push, you idiots. Like push, push, push. And like don't stop pushing until we take their nexus, okay? Because that's what we do. We want to kill them so we can push. We want to kill them so we can push some more. And then we want to kill them and push it in the game. Like, that's all we want to do. And which one helps you push? It's Baron, right? I know that Elder, I know the burn into turrets and whatever. Like, Elder was designed with pro play in mind. That's what it's there for. You don't understand what Elder's for. Okay, you don't get it. Like if you're listening to this podcast, you're trying to get information, you're sending in questions, you don't know what it's for. We don't understand it. It's too big for our minds to comprehend. Like just take Baron. It's uncomplicated. It ends the game. It makes the minions better.
So I'm gonna give you only 2 scenarios where I think Elder would be a great help to end the game though. You're pushing a wave up to a turret. They've stopped it, but the wave is still pushed up, and you have time to go take it uncontested. Take it. And then you can run right back to that turret and finish it. The only other time I would prioritize Elder over Baron is if I have 3 Mountain Drakes or 3 Infernals. If I have 3 of either of those, it's basically I auto win the game. Like,
Yeah,
there's just like I auto win the game.
There are corner case scenarios where Elder, but I would argue that even in that scenario,
You're still
right,
gonna take Baron faster.
if you take
like,
Elder and they take, because again, it's rare that you have a situation where you just get to pick one, where it's just like, oh, either one of these is free. Which one do we want, right? No, it's always like close, heated game. You know, it's like maybe we could take one, or we've got a slight advantage here. Like, oh, just take Baron. Just take Baron. It's easy.
Elder
to take.
is the thing. Elder is the thing that helps you get Baron quicker. Like,
I just want Baron. Just give me. I'm going to tell you right now. If you ask me 100 times, like 90 of the times, I will just say Baron. And I don't know if that's correct. It's probably wrong. But you know what? Like, my tiny pea brain cannot understand the difference. And I know that Baron makes the minions purple, right? And there's a lot of minions, and Elder Dragon only makes 5 people red. Makes them flamey, like sheer numbers at that point, man. Like more purple things good. Less purple things bad. Like simple. Like just more glowy stuff good. Like this is good.
I've never seen you so passionate about this.
Because it drives me crazy. Because like every time in solo, like every time there's been a question in between the two, and we went for Elder, it was always wrong. Every time, like in the solo queue game where I'm like, well, if we would have just took Baron, we would have won the game. And like never have I taken Elder, and either we wouldn't have just stomped them regardless, it didn't matter. But like where it was close, I have lost games because we took Elder over Baron. I've never lost a game, I think, because I took Baron over Elder.
If nothing else is on the map, play around Elder by pushing mid and bottom,
Yeah.
But don't make it a priority that you want to change the game and give up Baron for it, or prioritize it over Baron. Baron is the priority,
I think. I mean, and again, it's just I try to oversimplify the game and take stuff that like confuses me and makes me like uncomfortable out. And like Elder, it's just, man, like, I don't know. It's got a lot of hit points, and like now we have to fight them. Like Baron, I don't even have to do anything. I just walk up and stand there. Minions win the game for me. I don't have to fight them. It doesn't matter. Like Elder, now we have to team fight. So it's like Elder, I have to know that, okay, now we're going to team fight them. And if we win, then we win the game. Like Baron, I just walk up to the turrets and the turrets get killed.
Yep.
That seems good, right? Like, and I don't know. I just don't oversimplify. Just take Baron, man. It's just like with the Smite'ems, the Smite'em question that we had last week. It's like, there's always the whole corner. Just take the blue one. Just, like,
get it over. Get out of
I get that there are like, I know there are corner case scenarios where it's like, sometimes if they have a master to you and you're a Rengar and like, and you have to survive through that initial burst damage, you need the 10%. Whatever, man. Just take the blue one.
If you're having an existential crisis over one small decision, like you're probably complicating it too much.
Exactly, man. Just take the blue one. Just kill Baron. Like get the one that takes, makes minions purple. Sweet, win the game.
Blue and purple is better than red in this game, apparently.
I would love to see a statistic on like, and this is why I got fired up on this, but like I would love to see a statistic that shows the amount of games that are won, right, in solo queue by taking Baron versus the amount of games that are won by taking Elder. And I guarantee Baron wins a lot more. I 100%.
Baron's up earlier. Like, Baron's up earlier. It's impacting the map earlier. Everything about it is
Elder requires people to think, right? Because it's like, we're really strong. We should fight them. Like, that's a lot of thought process, man. It's impossible to get that Vayne, who's been like trying to 1v5 the whole game, to group anyway. But at least with Baron, she's pushing the minions faster, and you can push the other lanes. Like,
Vayne is just a minion delivery system at that point.
All of the horrific scenarios that happen in solo queue, and there's so many where you have like, oh, you know what? Arsona just built like all damage, and you know what? She's just not going to group. That's
great.
Just what's
we have a Mordekaiser one trick. Fantastic.
We have Mordekaiser one trick, and he's terrible. Like, I don't know what he's doing. All he built was spirit visages. That's all he has. Like, he has 4 spirit visages. You know what? If that guy's in a lane doing the same dumb crap he's been doing all game, Baron's still good. Still good. Because you know what? He pushes harder now. And you know what? We can push harder on the other side. Like, it's good when you're grouped. It's good when you're not grouped. It's just good. Like, Dragon, like, man, I got to construct scenarios to make Elder Dragon good. You got to fight them. And, like, I don't know, man. That's too much work for me. Like,
At 35 plus minutes in the game, you're like the next team fight basically decides it, and you don't want to be the one to throw an elder. It's just not worth forcing a fight if the next team fight is going to decide it.
Yep. So I mean, I make decisions based on my limitations. That's how I make my decisions, and like 100% my limitation is I don't know when elder's good, so I just take Baron.
All right. Yep, I agree. So I think we beat that one into the ground.
Yeah, I think so. So I think, though, I mean, that's a great question. I got kind of fired up on it, but I don't think it's actually the best question of the week. What do you think? Let's have a quick discussion. I think it's a toss-up in between the question about the rotations because it's so relevant to me in used games lately.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And I think it's between Georgie's question about the best times to climb, right? Because I think the best time to climb brings up a real strong point about like when do you actually like group, like when, you know. Mm-hmm. So what do you think? What are your thoughts here? We're kind of in the middle.
Okay, I know that this is against everything that I stand for in regards to Rescued and my feelings toward this individual, but I'm actually going to favor this because I think Rescued questions about rotations is making you think about the game itself a little bit more, and not the conditions that are surrounding playing. I think that just anything you can do to intentionally think about what you're doing in the game, I think, is an advantage, and so I'm gonna throw my vote that way.
Yeah, I think I'm more on the same. I think that starting to think about the game outside of like when do I play, like when's the good times. You know what? Like, especially at like gold and below, I think you're kind of overthinking it, right? Like, yeah. I think there's a lot of like thought that goes into the game. But if you're going below, you know what? Don't think about any of that nonsense. Think about, do I know how to be the champion that I know how, like, that I'm playing? Do I know like where I need to be on the map? Do I know what my role is? Don't worry so much about when you play. What time of day do I play? If I play on Saturday, I get beat because it's all the weekend warriors. And I don't want to play in the middle of the day because it's all the guys from overseas who are Smurf. It's like, stop. No, just stop thinking about that stuff. Just play the game. You'll get better. You'll be gold. Don't worry about it, man. So, yeah, I think I'm going to agree. I think the question about rotation is just because it hits so near and dear to the heart this week because we know that feel. Yep. We've been getting out rotated quite a bit. Lately.
Yeah, it's just been happening. It's really sucky.
So if you find out the answer, please send it in to summonersift@gmail.com. We would love to know the answer. If you have like a 1-sentence answer to that question that's like, here's what you do, then please send it in. I would love to know because
sometimes it is you just lose. Oh well.
Sometimes you just lose. All right, so I think that's it. I think we've sifted the rift enough here, and I that's episode 5 of Summoner Sift. Thanks for listening. Thank you for joining me, Projector. Really appreciate that.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, we didn't have Contractor on. We got some sort of miscommunication, but he'll absolutely be here next week. He'll be on. We love that guy to death. And so subscribe, review us on iTunes. This is the first time we've actually asked people for this. Please, 100%, like hit that like subscribe button on iTunes and review us. Tell us we suck. We want the hate. Like, we would love to hear it, but if you actually like the podcast, we'd love to hear that too. That would be really cool. Send that in. So, and if you're going to send in listener questions, again, you can win $10 in RP. Where are they going to send those questions?
summonersift@gmail.com.
And where can they follow us on Twitter for the podcast? The podcast has a Twitter now.
That's right. It's @summonersift. This is super easy. You can do it. I believe in you.
You can do it. The website for the podcast is, what is it
Summonersift.com.
Oh my God, it's like branding. It's like, oh my God, it's all the same.
We're official now, Mom.
We're official. It's all the same. So, I mean, yeah, please send in your questions. We love having questions to answer. It's the most fun part of the cast for me personally. I would love that if the whole cast was questions, that would make our job super easy because we wouldn't have to write anything to document. We just copy paste right from the emails right in the show doc and just answer them. If this was a mailbag cast, I would be totally fine with that. And I'd get to give away money every week. That's really fun. So congratulations again to Rescued for winning $10 in RP. Spend it well. Buy a sweet skin that you would never otherwise buy. Or buy some sweet skin.
That's fine too.
Yeah, you can give it right back. We'd love to have it. So, all right. Thank you very much, folks. Have a great evening, and thanks for sifting the rift with us.